Allton. Mike, you want to say a few words, introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited for today's show. I am Mike Allton. I'm known as the Blogging Brute, and that is just one of the many hats I wear. I actually work full time for AgoraPulse, that social media management tool, but I also have these side projects. I've got the social media hat, I've got Blogging Brute, I've got 360 Marketing Squad, and throughout all of those, I'm writing a ton. I've been blogging for years, and it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I hope we have lots of time today.
Awesome. Sorry, guys. We are just making sure that we're like live streaming into both Facebook and YouTube. So yeah, thanks, Mike. We're really excited to be talking to you today all about blogging. We have Elise. Elise, maybe you say a few words of who you are, because usually we have Patty here, but we've got Elise today.
Yeah, special guest me today. So I manage the blog and content here and digital content marketer at Thinkific. So I live and breathe content creation on the blog, or helping map what does a video strategy look like as well. So lead magnets, all of that jazz.
Awesome.
So really today is just a workshop where I get to, tell Elise what to do and she gets to pick my brain.
Yeah.
You all just great. Both ways.
Exactly. I feel just like a moderator, I'm just a moderator today. So I'm just going to sit back and be an active participant. But yeah, really excited to be talking about blogging today. I think blogging has been around for years, and a lot of people have been putting it aside as part of like their digital marketing strategies, just because like videos and podcasts and all these other platforms and mediums have a lot of attention right now. So we want to dig into that because it's still a very viable, way to market and build an audience and market your products. So Mike, why don't you maybe start off and just kind of, from where you sit, all the blogging content that you create, sort of what's the state of blogging in 2019 right now?
Well, you're absolutely right in that there's been a lot of focus, a lot of hype about video, about short form content. People are doing podcasts and that sort of thing, which is all great. I have nothing against those. But the reality is we don't all learn and consume information the same way. I personally don't want to watch a video to learn how to do something, to learn about a story or something like that. In fact, I have been known to just completely close or back out of a CNN story or ESPN or something like that if I click through and it's only video. I want to read. And there are other people like me. Maybe there's only two, I don't know. But there are other people out there like me that we prefer to read. We learn best when we read. And the fact is, Google learns best about you as a business, as a brand, by reading your content. So there's still absolutely a place for blogging today. Now, I should say that there's kind of almost two different kinds of blogging. On the one hand, you have people that's what they do. They are bloggers. And I'm, in a lot of respects, a blogger. I love to write. I write a lot. I publish content often just for the sake of publishing content. Maybe most of the people watching, that doesn't really apply to you, right? Maybe you have another business or a course or whatever the case is, and you're considering whether or not content marketing is a viable way for you to promote yourself, to promote your brand, to promote your course and your products and your services. And of course, absolutely the answer is yes. So blogging for you is just a way to create written content. You don't even have to call it blogging. You don't have to call it a blog. It can be articles, it can be FAQs, it can be white papers, it can be ebooks, it can be transcripts of videos. It's just written content, no matter how you slice it up.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really true. I mean, maybe at least you can chime in on this. We create a lot of content here. We create a lot of live stream content, video content. That's sort of my world. But at least we create a ton of blog posts as well.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know, in terms of the state of blogging going forward, how you foresee people slicing and dicing it different ways, and how they can integrate text to complement some of the video, because we know that video is really taking over the internet by storm. So how can people find ways to complement those strategies and not spread themselves too thin?
Well, one of the cool things you can do, first of all, today is mix that media in the same page, in the same post, in the same URL, in the same destination, right? So we already I mentioned earlier that, people have different learning facilities and preferences. You can create a blog post that has written text, but it also has embedded video. It also has embedded audio, particularly if you're starting from a video in terms of how you're creating content. And we're going to get back to this in a little bit. You can then take that video and pull out the audio, and now you've got a video and you've got an audio, maybe even a podcast, right? And you can create the text post and embed all three or provide all three. So then I, as the reader, can consume your content the way I want to. And that's really getting into the realm of dynamic content. It's not truly technically dynamic content, but it's on the way there, where you're basically serving me what I need for myself without you knowing me personally. Because you can't say to the average Google visitor, oh, I know who you are and I know you like to listen, so I'm going to give you the audio version. That doesn't work for most of us. So that's one way that you can integrate this new way of creating content, this newer way of consuming content that everybody has access to. We're here doing Facebook Live, and although you're using Zoom, which is a paid platform, anybody else could do this for free from their phone, right? And you can create that video content, and then you can spin it into text and so on.
It's really good. That's really good. Yeah, I think it's true. You're leaving a lot of people that want to consume your content by just creating video content, because that's the hottest thing right now. A lot of people do want to read content, listen to content. So really good point. I want to say hi to all the people that are joining us on Facebook and YouTube Live. We have Mia Voss, and we have Jim here as well on Facebook. Hey guys, if you guys are on Facebook or YouTube Live, let us know where you guys are from, and if you guys are teaching any courses online, what topics and what sort of subjects you guys are teaching on. Be really interesting to know, so we can frame this conversation around that. So Mike, I want to know, WordPress has been sort of like, I guess, the king of blogs, maybe. But I'm just, there's like LinkedIn articles and there's Medium. What are your thoughts of where people should blog, or is it a matter of repurposing that content on different platforms?
Well, the short answer is it is a matter of repurposing, just as you just said. Everybody needs to have their own website. That needs to be the central hub for everything that you're doing from a marketing perspective. That's where you need to publish your content. Now, it can be WordPress, it can be Squarespace, it can be Wix, it can be homegrown. Frankly, none of that actually matters. And we've done studies that proved it doesn't matter what platform you put your content on. There's no SEO benefit. It's all about the content, and it's all about what you choose to write about and how you choose to publish and promote that will kind of dictate how well your content ranks in search and how well it'll perform over time. So should you also then use LinkedIn and Medium and some of the other places that you can publish content? Absolutely. And there's a couple of ways you can go about doing that. The first is you publish first to your own blog, and then you syndicate or copy that content to those other, I call them outposts, right? So I'd publish to bloggingbrute.com, and then I might copy that post to a LinkedIn article, or I'd copy it to a free Medium blog or someplace like that. The first benefit there is the original content's on my own site, and I own that nobody can take that away from me. Nobody can shut that account down. The platform can't go away. Gee, has that ever happened? Anybody ever had a Google Plus account or a Posterous account or a Vine account? It happens all the time. Actually, more often than what people realize. Entire social networks decide to shut down, or on a micro level, they'll decide that they don't like something you post, or they don't like an ad that you tried to run, and they will shut your account down. So we don't want to rely on that as a platform for housing our content, but it's okay to copy it. Now, the caveat here is you want to be careful when you're syndicating or copying that content that the copy doesn't rank better than the original. And that's something you're simply going to have to check. And I'll give you an example of that. I have some of my content that gets automatically published to business2community.com or socialmediatoday.com. These are content aggregators. They don't do a lot of original content. They do some, but it's mostly syndication of other people's content. And years ago, I discovered a problem. I discovered that Google was ranking my content on these syndicated sites higher than the original posts. So if you were to do a flat title search, a straight up title search for one of my articles, you'd end up on this other person's site instead of my own. And that's not cool. I like it when my content gets visibility on those other sites, but I really need my own content, my original posts, to rank highest. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, most of those sites, they've gotten better about this. They tell Google where the original was. They use something called a canonical link. And the other thing you can do is give yourself a little bit of breathing space, give Google some breathing space to recognize where the original content is. So I usually would wait 24 to 48 hours today before copying or syndicating my content anyplace else. So that's the first part. The second part, and then I'll be real quick here, is this idea that maybe we should publish some original content to some of these outposts. And I'm all for that if it's done strategically and sparingly, because you really want that website to be your home base and your marketing hub. But it's cool if you have the bandwidth to publish an original article to LinkedIn, say once a month or every other month, because then you're giving that LinkedIn audience something really, really interesting and cool. And then 6-12 months later, you can actually always go back to those archives and maybe pick out the ones that performed best and now republish those someplace else, maybe even back on your original blog.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
Great.
I know that Elise, you manage a lot of like guest bloggers, guest posts on our blog. Like, are those typically original content or a mix of?
Yeah, for guest posts that we accept all original content because we want it to be really quality and make sure that that gets traction itself versus a copy of someone else's. So that's one thing that we make sure to manage. I am curious though, for people that just riffing off your comment, Mike, on owning your means of production of having a blog on your own site. What are some tips for people to know where to get started with syndicating that? Because I know you can create a program, pay to play, but where do you go to start getting the network out, for free?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Now, here in the marketing industry, kind of blessed to have sites like Business to Community and Social Media Today that actually do automate that. They'll read what's called an RSS feed, which your WordPress site will create for you, and they'll be able to see that you publish new content. They'll import it into their system, and they will review it manually. They might have an editor or somebody that takes a look at that content and then chooses whether to publish or not. But it's hands off for me, right? So when I create just a pure educational piece, I know it's going to go on businesstocommunity.com. And I actually know there's other sites that syndicate from there. So some of my stuff gets into like Yahoo articles and Yahoo Small Business and some other places. So that's cool. But that's 100% focused on business and marketing. So if you're in another industry, right? I mean, let's say you're in sewing or something like that. Look around. Maybe there's a publication like that in your industry. So that'd be the first thing to do. Look around to see if there's other publications that are sharing a lot of other people's content. And you can dig in a little bit and see if it's syndicated or if it's original. And usually if it's syndicated, they'll have some kind of way to sign up and get configured and get your stuff in there. If that's not the case in your industry, then there's a couple things you can do. The first is you can reach out to those other publications that are publishing content, but maybe it's not automatic, and see if they'd be interested in regularly republishing your content. It may not be automatic. You might have to remember after you publish a blog within a couple of days, send an email to that editor and say, hey, I just published this article. Are you interested in republishing it? That's actually what I do now with Social Media Today, because they don't automate it anymore. But every once in a while, I've got an article that I think they'd like. So I email Andrew Hutchinson, one of the editors there, and I say, hey, Andrew, I just published this article on 26 ways to repurpose a Facebook Live. I think you might like that. And he says, yeah, Mike, I think I would. And he publishes it, and it's all good. The other thing you can do then is create those outposts yourselves, right? So if you don't find a good publication that's doing syndication for you or would be willing to work with you, or maybe doing it automatically, sign up for a free Medium account. Go into your LinkedIn profile and start using the articles there. You can even use Facebook Notes, which are really nice looking now. I don't know if you've been to the Facebook Notes section for a while. They still bury it, which I really don't like. You got to go to your profile and hit the more button, and it's there in a drop down. But it's pretty. It's really nice to use. It's really easy to use. It's a kind of a contemporary editor where you can do like the full screen images, just like on Medium. It's actually feels a lot like Medium. So that's a really easy way to republish content. And one of the pillars in our industry, Mark Schaefer, that's exactly what he does. He publishes, I think, on Mondays, and on Tuesdays he syndicates to Facebook Notes.
Oh, that's a great tip.
That's
yeah,
interesting.
to try that.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to ask a bit about pitfalls. So are there any things to avoid and to know, mistakes that you want to avoid when blogging?
Well, we just actually touched on one of the biggest ones, which is to make sure you're putting your own content on your own site. But one of the things that I like to talk about, and almost every lesson I share, and certainly every pitfall that I share, is one that I have personally fallen into and hit my head 3 times and tried to crawl back out of, right? So coming from personal experience, you need to be laser focused in what you write about. and I share this story all the time. When I first started blogging, it was to support an internet marketing business. I was selling website design, right, and social media marketing and those kinds of online marketing. And so I was blogging, and I thought, wow, what if I create content that is just interesting to local business owners? Because then they'll find me and they'll learn about me, and then they'll hire me to build their website. So I wrote about office furniture, and I wrote about email signatures, and I live blogged new Apple iPhone events, and none of that content worked. It didn't get any traffic, and it certainly didn't lead to any leads or sales. It was too way off base. It had nothing to do with website design. So it wasn't converting, and it wasn't helping me in search. So then I pivoted, and this was around 2012, 2011, and I started the Social Media Hat, which was mostly about social media, but also about blogging and email marketing and search engine optimization. And that was better. I was more focused on social media specifically and developed a reputation there and started to earn traffic and that sort of thing. But even then, it wasn't focused enough. I started looking at my own analytics last year, and I saw that my blogging content wasn't ranking well. I had over 100 articles about blogging. And on the socialmediahat.com, those 100 articles over the course of 3 months last year received a combined 250 page views. That's nothing, right? I mean, that's no traffic at all. That's like me tweeting them out and they got like 1 or 2 people, and that was it. So no search engine traffic or anything. So I built a whole new site. I built bloggingbrute.com, which is 100% laser focused now on blogging. And I moved all 100 articles to that new site in November. So that was just 2.5 months ago. Right. Today, those articles get 500 page views a day. Same content. But now I've told Google, you know what, this site and all this content is 100% about blogging. Could I be even more laser focused? Yeah, I could. So it's almost counterintuitive, and it's harder to think this through and to figure out exactly what it is that you're going to be focused on, whether it's content creation or course creation or your business or whatever the case might be. But the more focused you are, the easier it's going to be for Google to know who you are and what you're an expert are and the easier it's going to be for your audience to understand who you are and who they can turn to when they need help in those areas.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Building on that, are there any tips to help Google realize that faster? So apart from doing a whole site migration like you just did, what are some tips people could do? Is it had to do with, the tagging, the SEO, or re-indexing? Any things that you can offer there?
There's lots of SEO tricks, and I'm usually scared to give you any SEO tricks, right? Because this recording's not going to self-destruct tomorrow, and by next week, some of the things that I say may no longer be in effect. But there's at least 2, maybe 3 things that I can share with you that you can do that are actually never, ever going to change when it comes to SEO. The first is what I call interlinking. So let's say you've written 4 articles around this idea of creating a course, right? And now you're working on a 5th article around this idea of creating a course. While you're writing that 5th article, make sure that you're thinking of ways to link to those old 4 articles. We call this deep linking. It's not a new concept in SEO or content creation, because the idea is once you publish that 5th article, I'm a new reader. I see that you shared it to Twitter, and I'm reading through it, and at least you've got all these great points, and you've got all these links throughout that help me understand how to create a course. And I click on, and I end up going deeper into your site, right? But once you publish that 5th post, go back and edit the first 4 posts and insert a link to the new post. I call that forward linking. I've never heard anybody else call it that way. I made up that word. So there you go. You can forward link to the new post. So now you've got 5 pieces of content on your site, all around the same topic, that are all interlinked in a variety of ways. So now, first of all, you're telling Google about all this new content. Hopefully you've already got an XML sitemap. So hopefully Google already knows all the content that you published. But in case they don't, when you've published the newest content, you've got the links to the old posts, and it's all interlinked, so you can make sure that the robots of the world find all your content, right? But more important than that, if I as a reader bounce into just any one of those articles, now you're taking me back and forth throughout all 5 pieces, and maybe more than that. That increases my time on site. That decreases the bounce rate right? Because I've clicked through to additional content rather than going back out because I want to learn more. And you've taught me and showed me that you can teach me more. And so now I'm learning more, and now I'm reading 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of your content. Guess what? If I read 5 or 6 pieces of your content, I'm sold. I'm a subscriber now. I'm going to sign up for whatever it is that you're talking about because you've taken the time to teach me all of these wonderful, wonderful things. So that interlinking strategy is huge, and it's frankly kind of easy to do. Once you're creating that content, just link everything together, find creative ways to do that. And so that's my one big thing for SEO. The second big thing, you have to write. You have to write a lot. You have to create long form content. And I know some of you watching right now hate me for saying this, because I know, and I get this all the time, a lot of you watching right now don't like to write. And I hear you. I really do. I understand. I'm a kind of a freak in that way that I actually enjoy writing. I get stressed out if it's been more than a week or two and I've been too busy to write. But here's the thing. Long form content, we know historically, we know statistically performs better than short form content. Now, what do I mean by that? Short form content would be like under 500 words, a really, really brief blog post, a couple of paragraphs maybe. And the problem with a couple of paragraphs in a blog post is you can't teach me anything in a couple of paragraphs. You can share a quote, you can share a couple of statistics, you might share with me a thought, but you're not going to teach me everything I need to know about how to create a course online or how to monetize a course online. You cannot put that into 500 words or less. You really can't even put it into what I call a standard blog post, which is like 750 to 1,250 words. You might be able to share with me a part of it, right? You might be able to share with me one technique for promoting a blog or for promoting a course really well, or one way that you can monetize a course really well. You might talk about how to take your book and turn that into a course a little bit, but you're not going to say everything there is to say about that topic. So you either break it up into a series or you write one epic piece of content that's like 2,500 words or more, preferably 10,000 words or more. And I know that's a lot of text, but that's going to drive real business results. So do that like once a quarter. It doesn't have to be every post, not at all. Every post, most posts should be those average length posts, like a 5-paragraph essay where you share some points and some tips, and then you wrap it up. But if you can do a one piece of epic content every single quarter, those will be the pillar posts of your business. Yoast SEO refers to that as cornerstone content. It's actually a setting inside WordPress. When you're creating it, you can click that and you can say, yeah, this is my cornerstone content. This is going to drive real business results. And you'll see it in your analytics. That's the kind of content that just shoots up in the rankings. And before you know it, you're getting 50, 100, 1,000 people a day coming in from Google for free to learn what it is you're sharing. And if you've done it right, if you've set that up properly, that pillar piece of content will turn those readers into customers.
Oh, that's great. That's really good. Yeah, I think a lot of people, that don't write so much, that's really difficult. But I think, once a quarter, when you create that, I think that's a good idea. We create those once in a while, and then we break it up into smaller content pieces. But as we wrap up, Mike, I want to just ask you, a lot of course creators that are watching this, how do you get started with blogging? If they don't have a blog yet, you said it doesn't really matter what platform, but maybe if you have some recommendations, how to get started.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you don't have a blog at all yet, that means you probably don't have a website yet. And that's really what you need. You need a website that has blogging capability. I would usually caution you to stay away from the free, 100% free platforms. Like, don't sign up for a Blogger account. Don't sign up for one of the free WordPress sites, because you want to make money at this. If you're doing this to support a course or ultimately to create a course out of the blog content, whatever direction or philosophy you're taking or approach that you're taking, your end goal is to make money. And that means you need to invest a little bit of money up front. Not a lot. It doesn't cost a lot to pay for hosting. Like, I usually recommend Bluehost, right? That's like $4 a month. And then you can install the regular version of WordPress for free. You can buy a domain name, and now you're up and running. Okay, so that's usually where I tell people to start. Start there. Get a full-blown version of WordPress. Maybe get a premium theme. That's debatable if you want to invest that kind of money. You can start with a basic theme if you want. The key there is to get it yourself, get your self-hosted, a professional domain name, and then start writing. I say writing, not blogging. You want to start writing before you publish. And you need to practice. Now, the cautionary tale here is that you don't want to be a perfectionist and never publish, right? There is at some point you need to hit the button and publish, but start writing just to write, start to communicate those ideas, put them down, come up with some plans and some ideas on what you can actually publish as blog posts, what you need to communicate about your business, which might be like pages of content or even products or services, and then have an idea of what that's going to look like. And then you can start to put that all out there as published content. And you can come up with a plan for your next year, maybe 2 years, or even a 5-year plan if you want to think that far out. You know, what content am I going to need to create to start to get all this traffic that Mike's talking about? What content am I going to need to create to turn it into a course? Or what content am I going to need to create to support the course that I'm building or have already builded? Those are the kinds of questions that you need to think through as you're going along.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good. That's
Great.
a great way, guys. So Mike, thank you so much. Where can people find you, connect with you on social, find your blog? Where can all that place live?
So the cool thing now, and I couldn't say this before November, but the cool thing now is I'm the Blogging Brute everywhere. So it's super easy to find me, bloggingbrute.com, Blogging Brute on all the different social channels. And the one thing that we had talked about before we started was a resource for all of you watching. If you haven't yet started a blog, I've got a resource for you. It's free. You can download it. It's just how to start a blog. It's on the Blogging Brute site. And the short link is thesmh.co/start-a-blog. And you can download this epic, massive ebook that walks you through all the technical stuff that you need to know to get that started. And if you already have a blog, take a look at that, because I talked about focus today. I talked about some SEO stuff today. That's all in there too. So you might actually take your existing blog and kick it up a notch.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Mike, thank you so much. We're going to put all the links down in the comments for everyone. Elise, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll talk to you guys all very soon. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.